Right, good evening, everybody. My name's Beverley Schafer, and I'm doing the training this evening on something a little bit different to what you usually used to. This is something that I presented at the South African LifeWave convention in Johannesburg this year, and it is very much on frequency, but not frequency of LifeWave patches, but frequency of money. As I said, tonight's training is slightly different, but it has everything to do with LifeWave and your business because it really talks about this journey that we're on into something very few people are taught about. It's about the frequency of wealth. And we're not taught this. We're not given the skills on this. We don't actually understand it unless our parents understood it. And if they didn't, then we tend to struggle our whole life with regards to creating abundance in our life. So it's not just really about how to make money, it's really about how to become magnetic to the ability to make money. And we're already aware, as I've spoken about, that the frequency of light and of life wave is a frequency technology to heal and help the body return to wellness. And so it's something that you're already familiar with in terms of the words frequency. You understand that light technology is real. It's not some woo-woo concept. And so before I start with the slides and with this presentation, I actually want you to take a deep breath in because we are all carrying some form of programming about our own self-worth. And I want you to say to yourself when you take a deep breath in that you've got this. You've got the listening ear, and because you might feel now when I say the word money, you might feel something changing inside of you, going into fear, a little bit of anxiety. So the nervous system might not be okay with this word, depending on how your conditioning has been as you grew up from being a child. So let's take a deep breath and let's begin. Now, let me begin with something that we've all been sensing, but 10 days. I mean, the world went through a massive emotional charge in the last 10 days with the assassination we saw in the US. And so we see the world is changing, and it's not changing gently, it's actually changing radically. And you even see it, you read about it in newspapers that businesses are going down, businesses are closing. I mean, in South Africa alone, over 1,300 businesses closed just last year. And it's not just data that we're talking about, it's change where we're feeling it personally in our own lives, we're feeling it amongst our families, we're feeling it, our dreams are being affected, our livelihoods are being affected. So there is change, and it's not something that we like. Our bodies, our nervous systems respond to this. And yet, even though the world looks massively chaotic, really something much deeper is emerging. Because we know, we can't really put it into words, but we know that the things that we relied on before in our lives, on governments, on medicine, on the world in general, on leaders, are no longer sustainable. They don't look after us in the way that we were raised, perhaps, that they should be doing so. And so there is so much change, and there is this uncertainty, and there is a distrust and a mistrust of everything that we once knew would look after us no longer is looking after us. But there is this wonderful thing, and we call it the turbulence before the change, because we know there's change, we don't like it, Our bodies are feeling it. We can't really put it into words. The world looks incredibly turbulent and upside down, but it is just before this incredible vision that I believe is our future. And I believe we're moving into this incredible economy where energy and wellness and human connection are our new currency. But before we get there, we have to move through this radical tunnel of change and of uncertainty. And what I'd like you to specifically do and look at this slide is to focus on the one where we are all connected, on the world that has got this light around us. Because wherever we focus is what we create. And that is not just a statement, it is actually real. So we don't focus on the turbulence, we focus on the positivity and the change that we want to create. And in this positivity and in this connectedness and in this thing that even David Schmidt talks about, the future of LifeWave, the future of generational wealth, that is where we want to be. And that is where, and the things that we want to see. Right, so as I said, let's take this all the way back to LifeWave. LifeWave as a business, because it's been scientifically proven that we can copy frequencies. Well, David Schmidt has done that. He has copied a frequency, a vibration in this patented stem cell activation patch that actually activates the deepest part of our bodies. This actually right at the beginning of life, which is at the cellular level. And just like that, and like we've proven, or we can prove with molecules of vitamin C, that when we put it into the body, we shift the state of frequency in our own systems. Just like we're going out into the sun and we use, or the concept of light from the sun stimulates or goes into the skin and stimulates the concept or the vitamin D in our bodies. That's exactly how we are talking about when we talk about wealth. So LifeWave is mirrors wealth. They both are frequencies. And with LifeWave, you're partnering with a future-facing business. It is not something old, it's something very future-facing that aligns with the science of light and the intelligence of the body and the power of energetic healing. And most importantly, from all of that amazing stuff, you creating income, you creating freedom, and you creating stability on your own terms. You're not waiting for a job. You're building an asset, a network, and a legacy. And so, as I say again, David Schmidt is talking a lot about generational wealth. So let me share something very personal with you. A few months ago, I was doing all the right things. I was working on a strategy. I have the effort. I have the goals. But money really still felt like an upward battle. Like I couldn't quite get it to flow in the way that my attention was being. And you know, one day after a very long week, I sat in some stillness and just pushing this down, and a quiet voice whispered inside of me. And it said to me, "You're speaking success, Beverley. You're speaking success, but you're not vibrating success. You're vibrating about that. You're speaking success, but you're vibrating stress." Even that noise is irritating, isn't it? And it kind of hit me. It landed in me deeply because I wasn't lacking skill. After all, I had a very successful career. I was earning a salary, but I never needed to worry about my own personal alignment. It didn't matter because I was getting a salary every month. But when it came to the point that I had to personally manifest this incredible thing called money and the frequency of money and wealth, I was exactly like the noise that you had just heard. I was out of frequency. So I began tuning in. I started to take some action. I just want to change this. There we go. I asked myself, what is it that I was doing? I was obviously giving off this noise that wasn't flowing. I wasn't in flow. And I started to visualize success before each and every call I made. I asked myself, for example, what would a wealth aligned Beverley of me do right now when I make these phone calls to potential LifeWave brand partners? Or how would I be when I made these calls? How would I feel? How would I speak? What kind of energy would I give off? How confident would I be? And that is when things started changing for me, because I started to attract LifeWave partners and team members into my space far more frequently. At first, it was slow, but it started to pick up a momentum. And the minute I stopped pushing, I started attracting. And that was when I knew that wealth wasn't something that you chase on the outside of you. It's something that you tune into very, very carefully. You find that frequency which puts you in flow. And just like LifeWave patches, that activate the healing through light, wealth in itself is activated through how you deeply feel inside of your own self. It is not outside of you. The money as a currency, the one that you can actually see that's in your wallet or in your purse, is the visual aspect of wealth. But the wealth as a concept, as an energy, sits well within yourself. Now, Brian Scott is a very well-known coach on YouTube. You can find him there. He spends a lot of time talking about manifestation, about how to create wealth, how to step into the frequency of wealth. What is it? And it often has to take a lot of listening to because of our conditioning process. And you just have to think back to your own lives when you were younger. What was the message that you got about money? Was it, for example, in my own world and in my own life where parents argued about money, or where we were told that there was no money to buy things for us, or that money didn't grow on trees? And so, with all that messaging, particularly as a young child, you'll carry that throughout your life until you start becoming conscious of the messages that you're putting out there as an adult. And Brian Scott explains it like this. He says that vibration is motion, but the frequency of wealth is a kind of rhythm. So if you think about a dancer who is dancing to the movement or to the music of a song, so her movement is the vibration. But what's coming out, the music itself, is the frequency to which she taps into. So it's the rhythm of the song that you hear. It's when you move from side to side, when you're dancing to a fantastic piece of music. That is what you need to tap into. It is not the movement itself. It's what you feel when you hear the song that you absolutely love. So let's zoom into a little bit about the science, because I think it's very important that while it looks and it sounds so incredibly fantastical, there is a science to this that is absolutely that can be proven. It works on the same kind of thing that we can prove that light frequency in LifeWave is able to be tested or measured. So in the science, well within our brain, there is a concept called neuroplasticity. It might be a word that you've come across, it might not be. But what it does state is, and what psychologists and psychiatrists have been able to prove, that deep within the brain, you can rewire the conditioning process of anybody. So you could actually rewire the financial belief system that you have by doing various things. Now, it's not just simply, well, I'll just tweak it once and it's gone. You can rewire it over time. And just like the X39 needs 3 to 6 months to really, really shift your body's wellness system or get you back to a point of balance, it's the same thing about neuroplasticity. The rewiring of our brain takes a little bit of time, because the older we are, the more wired we are into a way of thinking. And within this brain, we have the reticular activating system. Don't worry so much about the words, but this filters what we notice based on our dominant thoughts. So from a scientific perspective, we can rewire our previously conditioning thoughts that we learned as a child and that we've constantly carried into our adulthood. That's important to know. And if you think about abundance, you'll find it. But if you expect struggle, I promise you, you will attract it. Because the concept of thinking is very much where the start of wealth creation occurs. Remember, I said to you that while money is something you see, the concept of wealth and understanding of tapping into abundance occurs deep within your own cells, deep within your own conditioning of who you in essence are. And so even though if you practice the affirmations, but you don't really believe it, it won't work. And it works the same way as David Schmidt says. You need to believe in the product of LifeWave for it to work, because even if you saw the science and you didn't believe that there was any power in this patch, I promise you it won't work. So visualization creates real neural pathways. It's very, very important. And we were unfortunately, through our schooling systems, we've been shut down on the ability to imagine, on the ability to visualize. And so some people really, really struggle with that because they don't use it. It becomes less and less of a strength in their own systems. So visualization creates new pathways and new processes in the way that you think. And the second thing is repetition becomes an identity. And if you know, in LifeWave, we talk about consistency. You don't have to do LifeWave every day, and you don't have to do LifeWave all the time, but you've got to do LifeWave every day. And so the same thing with when you want to actually change the way you think about wealth or wealth creation. You need to visualize a new way of thinking. You need to repeat in order to create a new identity within yourself, because with a new identity and belief system that you are a new way of thinking, you are a new person, the identity will bring results. And strategic wealth creators, those who consciously change the way they think, they aren't lucky. They're not people that go around winning lotteries. They really have just fine-tuned their neurological pathways into a way of thinking abundantly and being able to create and be able to create abundantly or create wealth. So it isn't something that you just suddenly get out of a lucky packet. And maybe when they were younger, they didn't have the negative conditioning of lack, but many of us, I would say most of us, probably have the conditioning of lack. And so we need to work more consciously on changing our pathways in our brain. Right. So Neville Goddard is another fantastic person. You can see a lot where people and coaches and life coaches talk about him on YouTube and other channels. And he talked a lot about in the 50s on wealth creation. And he says, of course, that you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So wealth is not something you chase, it is something you become. And I'd like to unpack that in more detail, because when he says you don't attract what you want, you might very much want to become wealthy, want to create more money in your life. But if your inner world, deep within inside of you, within your heart and within your mind, your thinking, in other words, is not on the same path or the same frequency to what you want to create, you can never create wealth. So, in other words, your outer world is a reflection of what you truly, truly feel inside. And that was where I had to stop myself, because I had to stop and think and say to myself, what am I feeling inside? What's coming up for me? Why is my nervous system in me not able to be at the same level to where I wanted to create on the outside? Why is the money in my wallet not actually showing how I want to be, but rather how I'm feeling? And it's a funny thing, money, because if you worry about money, you will not be able to create money, because the worry is a low energy, low frequency type of feeling. It's not something that brings you joy. It's not happy. It is not elevated. It is something that's down and panicky and makes you feel uncomfortable. And you go into anxiety and all those negative feelings, depression or whatever negative feeling. And with negative feeling, you can't resonate. And sometimes you go around like a hamster on a wheel, because you can't seem to understand what is it that you're doing incorrectly. But you've got to stop and you've got to think to yourself, what is going on inside of me that I'm not able to create outside of me? And if you carry the belief that you must struggle to earn, then you will keep recreating struggle in order to earn. You will struggle with everything. As you touch money, you'll lose it. It will just become fluid. So you really have to go within, and you've got to do some work around that. But if you start from an inner abundance, or a place from inner abundance, then the world starts, funny enough, starts organizing itself around that. So this is what I mean when I say that wealth is a frequency. Because when you truly get it, it's not a left brain concept. It was something I really had to unpack. It's a right brain concept, not a left brain concept. It's a right brain concept. It's a feeling. It is not about how many brain cells or clever or IQ that you've got. It's a feeling of being, a feeling that you give off. And you've often heard the word saying, well, it's like people say when the patches, well, I'll believe it when I see it. But you know what? That's the biggest con we have been taught as human beings. Because actually, it is not about I'll believe it when I see it. It is about you will see it when you believe it. So first, you believe in the power of LifeWave, and then you will see the changes in your body. So first, you believe the power or the ability to create wealth or the feeling of creating abundance in your life. And so you will create it on the outside, and the physical currency will start increasing. You need to embody the version of you, the version of me, the version of Beverley, who is already abundant, who is already successful, who is already wealthy. Until you can do that, you can't create it on the outside. So you need to, for example, every day, practice some time of visualizing your next rank in LifeWave. Visualize the next one, whether it's director, whether it's senior director, whether it is senior presidential director, even if it's a stretch goal and it seems so out of the possibility, you need to visualize it. You need to see the customers, all the LifeWave brand partners' messages. You need to hear the words in your head. You need to hear them before you actually hear them. Hear the words yes every time you call before you make the calls. You see, your nervous system in your body is a broadcast tower. And they often say, and this is the reason why people who win the lottery winning 20 million US dollars within 3 years have lost all their money. And psychologists study this kind of thing. Why is it that when you win all that kind of money, you lose it all back and sometimes get even poorer than when you started off with? And the answer is because if you haven't trained your nervous system, which is that system that detects anxiety, joy, the ability, the responsibility that comes with handling large sums of money, you won't be able to keep it. It will fall right through your hands. And so just like you got to rank up in LifeWave from maybe customer to brand partner to manager, manager to director, director to senior director to presidential director to senior presidential director, and right through to the top. Each part of that journey helps you in terms of your income. It increases as you move up the ranks. It starts getting your nervous system used to money or wealth opportunities that you haven't been accustomed to before. So that's exactly, it's such a wonderful, wonderful correlation, because it's just like that you have to become used to being able to handle large amounts of income without losing it straight away. So it is a nervous system frequency we tap into. So you're not waiting for reality to happen. You're generating the concept of wealth creation deep within inside of you. Right, so how do we do it in reality? Now, the Heart Math Institute in the United States of America talks about, or they've proven scientifically, that with just 60 seconds of heart focused gratitude, you can synchronize your mind. So, the concept of putting your hand on your heart, and even if you wanted to, you could actually put it on your head. You could align by just doing that within 60 seconds, scientifically proven that the heart brain will go into coherence. Now, we talk about the patches that after 30 minutes or after 3 weeks, we see these slides in our presentation, that the brain goes into more coherence after putting the patch on using light frequency. So does putting your hand on your heart, closing your eyes, or just keeping quiet for a moment will put your body into a heart brain coherence. And it will comfort or slow down the nervous system, particularly if you are stressed. Now, it is scientifically proved, and it's not just grounding yourself, it basically does what the patches do in the same thing. It broadcasts the nervous system to state, I am calm. I am connected with myself. I'm not in panic mode here. I'm not desperate. I'm actually aligned with my new ability to create wealth, to step into this which is not fearful. I have confidence. I'm able to connect. So you're not chasing abundance, you are abundance. They've proven that the heart is actually a very powerful organ in the body, much more powerful than the mind. So you're not waiting for wealth. You actually are the frequency of wealth. You are the frequency of light. If light was something that was completely outside of us, we wouldn't be able to regenerate those dormant stem cells. So here's the thing, and this is what I do, and you could have a different type of practice. But I start my mornings when I wake up with 3 things. Firstly, I open up my journal and I write at least 3 things every morning that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the birds that I hear outside. I'm grateful for the sunshine that I see today. I'm grateful for my blessings that I have in my life right now. I'm grateful for the LifeWave brand partners that have joined my team. I'm grateful for the beautiful family I'm connected to. And I start my day like that every day. I also remember that I have to visualize this. So when I'm actually writing this, I really visualize that gratitude, hand on heart, write my gratitude statements, put my hand on my heart, and visualize what a beautiful day I'm going to have today. I also ask and I write, how can I serve the world with value today? How can I be of value to the world? Because we know for a fact that we are not selling this product. We are sharing this product with the world. We are giving value to other people in order for them to create wellness in their own lives. And then what I do is I commit to having faith, because remember, I need to believe it in order to see it. So I set my day with gratitude. I remember that I have to believe, strongly believe, have the faith that my day is going to be amazing. And I ask, how am I going to be of value to the world today? How can I be of service? And most importantly of all, I watch what language, what words come out of my mouth. Because I understand that the power of your words will also become your tower of what you're going to create. You might have all these beautiful intentions that if you're going to say something that's negative about yourself or indicate that you're suddenly got no money, the world or the universe or the world around you or your mind, remember, it listens to everything you say, it hears everything you think, and it doesn't differentiate. It will believe absolutely everything that comes out of your mouth. So watch the words that you say every day. And if the negative thoughts come out, you can say to yourself, no, 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 Beverley, that's my old self. That's my old conditioning. I now believe I'm able to be successful and I'm worthy of great amounts of wealth. So go and live with this frequency. Try and do it consciously every day. Remember, consistency is key. This constant focus on being able to practice gratitude, to be able to put your hand on your heart when you're feeling like you don't believe it, and recalibrate yourself to create heart-brain coherence, just like the patches, and watch how the world responds. And I promise you, it won't be long before you start see what you think are miracles. Because as David Schmidt says, that LifeWave and the power of the patches is not magic. It is the consistency use or the consistent use of LifeWave as a light frequency that changes the body and the internal structure of the body. And so I'd like to leave you with something which is quite amazing, or just something that really I built and created for the conference, on the words and the power of the words of I am. I am in perfect harmony with the universal pattern of wealth. I am grateful for all that I have and all that is coming to me. I am the light that activates every cell of my body. I am prosperity in motion, aligned, present, and powerful. I am the voice of value as I share LifeWave with the world. I am magnetic to opportunities and live in resonance, not resistance. I am building my business that reflects the wealth I carry within. I am receiving with ease, multiplying with intention, and preserving with wisdom. I am operating from a new level of financial alignment. I am the encoded energy of wealth expressed through gratitude and joy. I am the author of a new reality. The old story is complete. Just going to stop sharing there for a moment. So that brings me to the end of this presentation. And I don't know if anybody wants to ask any questions because it is a training evening, but it was really something once I'd got it on how important it is in terms of my mindset and how mindset will affect your ability to create and change the world. So don't discount the kind of energy that you put out there as a LifeWave brand partner, that you put out there as a leader of this business, and how you will change the people around you. We are responsible for the frequencies that we emit, and we have a moral responsibility for our own wealth creation. And when we know how to do it, we can share it with others. Anybody want to come in? Or if not, I'm happy to end the presentation then. I just want to quickly look. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for this evening, and a very good evening to all of you. And we will see you next week.